Okay, part 12 and the last of the shooting vids. At the moment we've got a setup where we can shoot each other and we've got an invincibility, and again you need to play about with the timing so it's how you want it. Okay, because I think probably you're invincible for too long in my one, but I'm not going to change it on mine. I can't be bothered, and it's for you to play with. And you spawn again after 4 seconds. Again, that might be too long. What we ought to do is have some sort of scoring system. So in tank, let's add a public variable, public int, let's call it score, set it to 0. Right, we want to make sure that when we create, when we hit a tank, we get credit. Okay. If we go down to our, let's use the picker, our tank hit subroutine, our collision detector, we have got this bit of code that pinks up the tank that shot the bullet, and we check. So we've actually got access to the tank or the player that made the score. So all we've got to do to make scoring work is just put here shooter dot score that I've just added plus plus. That just adds 1 to it. Okay, so every time we get accredited properly, and that's because we thought on, and right at the start when we made the bullet, we associated the player who shot the bullet. Okay, and that's allowed us to do so many things very easily. Right, so that's one part of the story. The other side of the story is displaying the scores. So let's go to our general logic.cs routine. Okay, now in the game loop we have a switch which allows us to do things based on what mode we're in. So we've got load up, loading assets, they're the ones that I created for you. We've got title logic which displays the level on screen, so let's just prove that that works again. So at the bottom of the screen it says what the name of the level is. So when I toggle through with F2, it says simple at the bottom, super level, simple, super level. They're both naff because I didn't want to make a proper level, but so that's working. When the game's in play, so let's have a look at play game. Start game is the subroutine. We change the game state to fragging. Okay, so we're going to use that state to put some scores up on screen. So if we go back to general logic and our game loop subroutine, we're going to add a new case after case state title. I'm going to say case state dot fragging, put our break in on the next line, and we're going to say what should we call it? Frag logic. Okay, so we're just using this for displaying text at the minute, but we could do the logic in here if we wanted to. Right, so we're going to right click on frag logic because it doesn't exist, and we're going to say generate method stub. So it's going to make it for us. Right, we've got potentially 4 scores to display on screen. Okay, so what we ought to do is have some sort of sensible mechanism. If we look at our input code, we had something sensible for that. We had a loop, and we said, like, for each player, go and check the input. Okay, so what we could do is a similar thing in the logic. So we could say, so let's go back to our frag logic, and we could say for each and what is it, tank t in, what was it, current players, yeah, current players, get them to draw their score, or let's call it show score. Now it ought to be up to the frag logic to decide where the score is displayed. Okay, so we need really an array or a list specifying the X and Y position to draw the score. Okay, so let's just think about how we'll do that. So I'm just going to leave that line. It's not finished, so it's going to moan and things like that. But let's have a look at play game, because we had a similar problem with the positions of the tanks. Okay, so when we do show level, so if you look on the picker for show level, here it is, we had this bit. So we had some data stored in the assets, okay, which we had in an array. So we can do a similar thing. So let's go back to general logic, and just above my frag logic, I'm going to create some position information. Now we need, when we're drawing text, an X position and a Y position. Now a vector2 object can store that sort of data. So we're going to create, just above here, vector2, an array, and we'll call this score display positions, and we're going to store in that let's just tab that back. We're going to say new vector2, and we might have to play with these, but I'm going to try and do it at 2. It's the X first, so let's do it at 10,2. Let's do another one. So that's going to be player 1's position. So the right hand side of the screen, so I don't know how big the screen is, so I'm going to do screen size dot right, and that gives me the right hand side of the screen, minus 200. I don't know whether that's right, we'll have to see when we display it, and put it at the same height as player 1. So that's going to do it at the top of the screen, those two. Now player 3's I'm going to put near the bottom of the screen, so I'm going to do it at the same distance in as player 1, but I want it down near the bottom, so I'm going to say screen size dot bottom minus, I don't know, 20. We'll have to play and adjust these to get them in the right place. And player 4's, oh, it's gone and done a vector 3 then. Player 4's needs to be on that right hand edge, so I want it screen size dot right, so that's going to be the same, minus 200, and at this bottom edge, so that's screen size dot bottom minus 20. Okay, so they're my display positions. Right, when we use for each loops, we don't have a loop variable. Okay, so we're going to do this manually. So I'm going to get rid of my for each, and I'm just going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than current. Oh, I hate it when it does that. Oh, let's turn that touchpad off as well. Current players dot count I plus plus. Okay, so I'm just manually doing the loop myself. So I'm going to say t.showScore at score display positions I. Remember, the first one is at position 0, that's at position 1, position 2, and the last one at position 3. So this loop will go 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, showScore doesn't exist. Oh, and it's moaning about that as well. So I'm going to just get rid of that. So we want current players I dot show score. Okay, show score doesn't exist, so we're going to right click and we're going to say generate method stub. Okay, so if we right click on show score now and say go to definition, it should take us there. It's very nice of that. And what we're going to do is display this tank's score. So we're going to say gm.textmanager.draw, and the information we're going to draw and the font we're going to use, that's going to be important. So gm.fontbank and I've been using the year 1943 font because it's like a military type font. Right, the text we want to display is going to be kills space plus my score. Okay, and the X position is going to be this thing that was named by it automatically as vector 2. I'm going to change the name to that, so I'm going to call that pos, that parameter. So I'm going to say pos.x and pos.y. Okay, let's leave it as that for now. Oh, it's going to... I picked the wrong score. Okay, so all we're doing is we're going to draw some text at the positions we've been told. Oh, well, let's run it and see what happens. They should be 0 to start with, because the defaulted to 0, remember. So when I'm playing the game, there you go, it says kills 0, kills 0. Now, that first one, the left-hand player one, let's just check this works. So when I shoot the yellow one, my kill should go up by 1. Right, that's going to be fine. So the player one is going to be fine, but the yellow one, if I get more than 1 digit, I think that's going to go off the screen. So let's just have a mess with that. Oops. If I can shoot the red one, it'll be good. Right, so I'm going to shoot the red one repeatedly. Once it stops flashing, I'm going to get really annoyed now. But I don't think that's going to fit on screen very well, so I need to push it over a little bit more. Right, yeah, I'm going to push it over a bit more. Right, the other thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to add more players. So I'm going to press F1. Well, I'm going to add all 4 players, and then I'm going to start again just to see where the bottom ones are. Oh, they're down too much. So the bottom 2, you can see at the bottom of the screen, they're off the screen, so they need to come up a bit. So let's go back to general logic and let's alter these screen positions. So let's do -30 for the margin, so they go up 10 pixels, and let's move these in more. So let's do screen right -220. Okay, and let's just see where they display now. So again, it's up to you. If you change font, the font's going to be different sizes, so you're going to need to do it. So let's F1 to get them all on and press 1 to start. That looks a little bit better. Okay, they're all in white, and what I think would be nice is to use the tank colour when we're drawing. So let's make that change. Okay, so go back to tank, to our show score. If it's not on screen, remember, just find it in the drop down. Right, what we're going to create, after the Y, I've got rid of the end of the parameters, the bracket and the semicolon. I'm going to press comma, and I'm going to go on to the next line. I'm going to say new text attribute. Right, this allows you to change the size, so we can change the scale. So the scale is by default 1. I'm going to leave that. The space in between all the letters I'm going to change to 2 pixels. Okay, but now I can specify a colour. Now the colour we've got stored for when we're drawing the tank. Okay, right, what we need to now do, put our last parentheses in our semicolon. Okay, see that highlights and it matches up with that one. So we should hopefully have them all in the right colour. So when it runs, let's put 4 players in and start a game. So we get red, yellow, green and blue. Let me just move that up so it's away from my border. Okay, so I'm going to operate Oh, really caught me. Let me just change my keys from my blue one. Don't follow this on the video because I just cocked something up when I did my keys. That should have been up. That should have been down. That should have been left. That should have been right. Let's just run it again. Right, so I'm going to get the cyan tank, player 4, to go and shoot the other 3. Because he's feeling badass. Alright. So let's just scroll out. So he's off and he shoots. He's missed. He shoots and he misses twice. Yes. His kills goes up to 1. Come on, get the green one. Not as easy as you think. Let's get the red one. There we go. Green one's available again. Okay, I'm going to end that video there. The next thing we're going to have a go at doing is... Well, I did have an idea what we were going to do next, and I've just now forgotten. So we got actually an active game that's playable now. Okay, we're letting the tanks run over each other. We don't have to do that, but I'm just leaving it like that, so they actually just go over the top. It would be interesting as the next task to do will be the viewports, and then the final task we'll do is I'll show you how to integrate Xbox controls. Okay, because that's going to be a better experience for the player, right? You know, unless someone wants to play on the keyboard while the other people use joypads. But really, 2 players is the max you can get round a keyboard. It's rubbish otherwise. And we've got some rubbish USB keyboards that you can't press lots of keys down at once on, which doesn't help. Oh yeah, I'm really kicking. Right, the level structure is what matters when you do these games. You can see my level. I like gaps. Those gaps are good because you can get like sneak throughs. But it might be a good idea to fill the gaps with sand so that people sneaking through end up getting slowed down. That'd be quite amusing. Alright. And maybe surround the gaps with bouncy bullet blocks. That'd be good. Okay, so I'll end the video there, and the next video we'll have a go at doing viewports and bigger levels.